It's weird how life works. One day you're sitting on your fire escape in Brooklyn, New York, looking at all of the traffic below and envisioning your life on the West Coast, but never actually thinking that you'll do it. And then 3 years passes you by and you're now on your sunny balcony in Los Angeles. Was it worth it? I'd say so. But LA is rapidly changing, and let's discuss how. LA has changed a lot over the years, especially after the pandemic. I personally was not living here before 2020, so I can't say exactly how it's changed, but from what I can see and hear from other locals is this. 1, things close earlier here now. Grocery stores, for example, used to be open for 24 hours, for example, Ralph's, but now they all close at like 12 or 1 a.m. Not that I need to be grocery shopping at midnight, but a lot of restaurants are also closing a lot earlier than they used to. And eating out can be really expensive nowadays, which we'll get into cost of living in just a bit. You often find strange costs on your receipt, like employee cost of living surcharge and things that just kind of make you roll your eyes and not want to eat out anymore. Oh, America. The traffic has also definitely picked back up. When I moved here in 2021, the city was a little more empty. It was taking me like 20 minutes to drive from Culver City to Santa Monica on any given day. Nowadays, it's more so in like the 30 to 40 minute range. I also think driving has gotten a bit scarier. People will just run red lights and stop signs without any hesitation, and there's no repercussions. I still have yet to see someone get pulled over by a cop for reckless driving. I've gotten to be more of a nervous driver over the years, especially after last year when someone merged right into me on the freeway. It's scary out there. I also don't think it's incorrect to say that LA has gotten lonelier as a city. I recently just did a video on this based on why I think this is, primarily because of the city's infrastructure and things outside of our control. But all in all, the pandemic has kind of made us more homebodies and less people are interacting with each other. Then again, I don't really know how LA was before 2020, so feel free to leave your thoughts on this topic as well. So let's talk cost of living. And this is a topic that's constantly changing because it seems every year LA gets more and more expensive. But right here in 2024, we at least probably can say that LA is an affordable city. A part of it is all about budgeting though. If you want to be shopping at Erewhon because it sounds cool, good luck. Go pay your $12.99 for a carton of strawberries. I'm a Trader Joe's boy because it's still pretty reasonable, but even lately with inflation, I'm starting to feel it out of my own pocket. I'm still probably spending at least about $100 a week just on groceries, and that doesn't account for the weekly takeouts I'm doing or eating out, which I'm trying to do less of because it's just getting too expensive. But assume $50 a person just to go to a restaurant, including tip. Quick grabs such as coffee will also cost you. It's pretty standard these days to be charging $7 for a latte or $5 to $6 for a cup of coffee. This is definitely something I've pulled back on because it's just getting to be unjustifiable. And takeout food would probably cost you anywhere from $15 to $20 for a meal. I also try to limit the takeout I do because it's just getting to be too much. A significant cost in LA is also your car expense. You may have monthly car payments themselves, but something I find also crazy is that in California, you have an annual car renewal fee that starts anywhere from like $300 depending on the vehicle you have, which every year is kind of annoying. I mean, back home in New York, I believe it's like every 2 years and it's not even that much money. Gas ranges anywhere from $4 to $6 a gallon right now. If you have to commute every day, this will add up pretty quickly. I don't even commute to work and I feel like I'm still filling up every week, spending almost $200 a month, maybe even more sometimes, depending on the trips I do. I can't really imagine what the cost will look like if you are commuting, let's say an hour or two each day. Having a car is not cheap in LA, but you can probably say the same for most American places when it comes to car maintenance and insurance and monthly car payments, but LA does not make it much easier. Apartment costs and rent. My my least favorite. Rent in Los Angeles is obviously really high and increases every year essentially. If you want to live on the west side of LA, you're probably looking at close to $3,000 for a 1-bedroom, maybe even a little more depending on the location. This does of course vary by amenities and square footage. I was looking at apartments last year in the Palms neighborhood of LA, and the cheapest I can find was actually $2,300 a month, but this apartment was small. I'm talking like New York small, and it lacked a lot of the conveniences I was looking for, like having AC and heat and in-unit laundry and things like that. You can probably find a place in the LA area as low as like $2,000, but you're probably going to be sacrificing some conveniences you'd otherwise want. Location is everything. Utilities are not cheap either. In LA, as a tenant, you're typically responsible for water, gas, sewage, trash, electricity, and Wi-Fi. Sometimes you will get lucky and your landlord might cover some things like water and trash, but ultimately you may be responsible and you can be spending maybe around like the $200 mark a month or more, especially in the summer month when you're cranking up your AC and that electric bill goes up. Honestly, probably more than $200 for all that. It's difficult to say how much you'll be spending each month because everyone's situation is so different, but to really enjoy LA or live on your own, you're probably going to want to make at least 6 figures, just depending on the things you want to do here. I know there's a lot of people that move here to pursue things like acting, and they move here with no job and just their savings. I personally can't really recommend that. I'm not gonna say like come with $10,000 and you'll make it work, because I don't have that experience and I find that pretty nuts. You should really get a job before you move here. Let's talk transit and LA Metro. So we all kind of know by now that LA is a very car-centric city. Traffic is heavy at all times, no one really takes a train, things like that. But there are plenty of people in LA who do not have a car and depend on the metro system every day. It's more common than you think, just less convenient in a city that really prioritizes freeways over transit and sidewalks. A report last year indicates that 23.4 million train rides were taken in April 2023, averaging about 880,000 weekday riders on the bus, rail, and micro transit system. And this is continuously increasing each year and will continue to do so, especially as we get closer to the 2028 Summer Olympics. We're already seeing positive improvements in this. For example, the K Line in South LA just opened last year, and the K Line will also begin at LAX, which is huge for the city because currently there's not many public options to get out of LAX. And my experience, while I don't ride the train that much admittedly, is that it's not terrible, it's just not as convenient as a city like New York. One of my gripes with LA Metro is that since the city is so spread out, you can't just easily walk to your neighborhood's train stop if it has one. It could easily be a few miles away from your apartment, so it kind of begs the question, how do you get to the train stop? Do you take the bus? Do you walk? Do you bike there? But all in all, it's still probably gonna take up more of your time than just driving, even with the traffic here. So I'd say in 2024, LA Metro is still kind of a last resort for me, but this also does depend on your own situation, your location, and lifestyle. And let's talk apartment searching. So apartment searching in 2024 can be quite competitive, but not if you're comparing it to, let's say, New York. If you are coming from New York like I did, and so many people do, you can expect a more seamless search experience, fortunately. When I was looking for an apartment, I had it ingrained in me that I had to see every place the day it was posted, apply, put my deposit down. I needed to get it done. In LA, you definitely have more flexibility for finding the right place and not being so bothered with the fear of someone taking it before you. Also, there's no broker's fees in LA. Some of you may not even know what I'm talking about if you haven't lived in New York, but that's a positive because so much money goes down the drain when you're dealing with those brokers. It's a nice thing to have here for sure. Your best bet is probably just checking out Zillow or Trulia or Redfin or apartments.com and honing in on a location that you want. It's also not a bad idea to join a Facebook apartment search group where you can even sublet someone's apartment for a month or so just to get your feet on the ground and really be able to explore and see what area you like the best. That's actually how I went about it, and everything else fell into place after that 1 month. You can also find roommates from these groups, which can make your life so much easier. If, let's say, someone is looking for a new roommate, you can just easily join their lease. And while I'm cooped up in my apartment right now, it's a beautiful day, so let's get outside. So let's talk crime and safety and homelessness in Los Angeles, because nobody wants to live in an unsafe community, and it can be a determining factor for if you choose to move or not. We also know that the news is notorious for sensationalizing crime in big cities, and while it may be true that crime is on the rise for multiple issues, here are the real stats based on the LA Mayor's website. Violent crimes have actually decreased 3.2% in 2023 compared to the previous year, although property crime has increased 3.5%. Traffic crimes are on the rise as well, with hit and runs and DUIs increasing 23% and 32% respectively. It's not really a surprise when you witness the drivers here in LA. That being said, we can't say LA is the safest place in the world, but from my own experience, I don't really feel too unsafe here. However, I do live on the west side near the beach communities, so my perception is a bit skewed and biased. But what I will say is because culturally, people don't really walk around here. Sometimes I do get sketched out if I'm walking alone at night on a sidewalk. You also have to remember how big of a city and county LA is. It's not even like I get nervous if I'm solo hiking or walking at the beach or anything. I feel pretty safe in those areas. And homelessness, as of summer 2023, homelessness did increase by 10%, with over 75,000 unhoused in the county. I have also noticed a change in places that weren't affected before are now affected. One example being the El Segundo area, where you never really saw any tents on the beaches in the South Bay, but nowadays when I'm cruising the Strand bike path, I see a lot more of them. However, on the other hand, a street right near where I lived formerly had a full street of homeless RVs and has since been cleaned up a few months ago. So it seems some areas are seeing increases and some areas are seeing decreases. The mayor also has an aggressive plan to help fix the issue, but time will only tell. Let's also talk about community involvement in LA. If you're moving to LA, especially alone, something you really want to do kind of right off the bat is finding community involvement, or just even finding a third place, as they call it, or comfort places. Because this city can be so overwhelming, you really want to find that sense of community as soon as you can, whether it be joining a meetup group or sports league, volunteering, taking classes, your local church community, and then discovering also new places you can frequent. It can be very difficult to find friends in LA. It's common to live here for years and not meet people, especially post-pandemic where everyone is a little less social. For me, I found comfort in just going to like Dunkin' Donuts every day because it reminded me of home, and it's really not a West Coast thing. And I was also lucky enough to make friends through mutual friends even before I moved here. And then finding that third place, meaning a place that's not your home or office, can just really make you feel good every day. This could be something as simple as a Barnes & Noble or a picnic table here in a park. I personally find LA to be more of a daytime city, but let's talk nightlife anyway. I'm not really into the club scene or anything like that, just truly personal preference, but a lot of people who move to big cities love the nightlife scene. However, from what I have experienced and even just heard from other people here, is that the nightlife is just not the same as it used to be. Before COVID, LA had a huge nightlife scene. We all remember the days of Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan clubbing every night in Hollywood. I do think, again, that the pandemic has changed how nightlife operates in LA. Not only are people more so homebodies now, but everything is just so expensive, from rideshare to the cost of drinks. I mean, remember when it used to be like $6 to Uber across the city? Now it's like $30 plus. LA's nightlife scene is kind of on life support right now, especially in comparison to other big party cities like Miami and New York. If you really are into the nightlife scene, I'm not sure LA is the best place for that. I'd say it's more of a morning city, especially because the bars and clubs legally have to close by 2 a.m. I don't know about you, but 2 a.m., that is pretty past my bedtime. It's probably something to note that the weather is changing in LA. I'm actually really excited to be out today because it's finally a sunny day. I can't even count how many times it has either rained this winter or been just a little uncomfortably cool or cloudy. When I first moved here in 2021, for my first 2 years here, I think I could count on one hand how much it rained. But in the past year and the past 2 winters, it has rained so much I have lost count. Don't get me wrong, it is probably a good thing because it means that we're not in a drought and we have less wildfires and it's better for the environmental concerns. So actually, California is healing, but if you're expecting it to be 72 and sunny every day, kind of like I was when I was living back east, you're in for quite a surprise. The winters here can get pretty cool in the upper 50s and low 60s, and I'm telling you, that temperature for some reason feels a lot colder here than it does back in the Northeast, and even the nights can go into the 40s. I feel like my seasonal depression has returned with a vengeance here on the West Coast. We've had rainstorms, we've had mountain blizzards, we've had hurricanes, endless gloomy days, and everything in between. But hey, at least the weather isn't always too boring, quote unquote, anymore, right? We got some seasonal patterns, I guess. It does feel so nice to be out in the warm sun again. Whew! And let's talk fantasy versus reality in LA once I make it up this sand mountain. This is a good spot. I already did a video on why I personally believe LA is a very misunderstood city because Hollywood portrays it as this sunny fantasy land. I say that as I'm like in a sunny fantasy land. Maybe I'm part of the problem. I think LA is a much better city to live in than visit because it's so complicated and spread out that the typical tourist attractions like the Walk of Fame and Santa Monica Pier are pretty lackluster, and it really takes time to explore the deeper value of this city. But when it comes to the reality, if you think you're going to be running into celebrities every day, especially in a time where people are staying home more and not going out, that's just like not really LA anymore. You'll be reminded soon how Hollywood is kind of dumpy and no one really walks the sidewalk, so those spontaneous encounters, even with non-celebrities, are just really not there. And LA proper is not exactly aesthetically pleasing. Like, sure, you may be thinking about cruising down Beverly Drive or PCH in Malibu, but most likely you're not gonna end up living there. And most of LA is just a bunch of strip malls and rundown buildings, and it lacks skyscrapers unless you're in downtown LA because of the city's zoning laws. So there's really not much urban charm to it. The palm trees do help though, I'll give it that. So after all that, do I recommend moving to LA right now? I can't say no, so I would say yes because LA has been so good to me. But you probably want to come here with a purpose and lower your expectations that LA is just this fantasy Hollywood life. And maybe that purpose is just enjoying a more laid-back city after living in like New York and not wanting to give up the city life completely, or wanting to pursue something in entertainment or something creative. I'd say if you're strictly moving to LA for something like the weather, it may get old in time after that honeymoon phase and you'll just be tired of it. It's definitely a choose your own adventure type of city. I'm a big city guy who also values nature and new outdoor experiences, so I feel like LA is still a great fit for me right now. I can't imagine what my life would have been like if I never made the jump to move across the country. And all in all, LA is not perfect, but I think that there's worse places to live. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there is any information I may have missed that you want to see in a future video. I make videos about life here in LA and SoCal, especially post New York City. So hit that subscribe button. It's free. Give this video a like so it reaches more dreamers like yourself. And I'll see you next time because I am in good spirits now. The sun is out. I mean, how could you not want to be here?